today's topic is one of the basic topic of Intune, uh, and very important topic while you are setting up or you are planning to set up the Microsoft Intune. So that is compliance policy. So we'll before that myself Narendra Kumar Malapati. So I have experience of 12 years of experience into the IT field, and I have experience on various voice platforms, managing various voice platforms, including Android, iOS, Windows, and macOS. And I have experience on various MDM tools as well. I have experience on Intune, Jamf, AirWatch. My primary skill, you can say, as Intune. Currently, I'm working on Intune, and also have experience on 365 cloud platforms. And I do write posts on HTML blog on mobile devices, especially on Android and iOS devices. So, welcome to my session, and today's topic would be compliance policies in Intune. So, this is one of the basic and a very important topic while you are managing or planning to manage your devices in Intune. So for today's agenda, we will discuss what are the compliance policies in Intune and what are their key features and what are the types of compliance policies we have in Intune. What are the actions we can take or Intune can provide for non-compliant devices. We'll see how to create a compliance policy, and we will also discuss about the best practices while creating a non-compliant compliance policy. Without further ado, we will start with the what is compliance policies. So compliance policies are basically the set of rules in Intune which can be configured, and that set of rules will validate whether the device is following this set of rules or not. Basically, it will analyze the device behavior, whether the device is having these kind of rules which are configured in the compliance policy, and define whether the device is compliant or non-compliant. If your device is following all the set of rules which is configured in the compliance policy, it will treat the device as a compliant device. If any one of those rules which we set are failing, then it will treat as a non-compliant devices. So basically, these are required for ensuring security requirements and meeting the organizational standards. So let's say if, your organization wants to have a certain minimum voice requirement. So and maximum they and doesn't want to allow latest OS version. So that can be done using compliance policy, making the device as a non-compliant if they're not following as per the rules set we set. So, with the help of conditional access or in conjunction with the conditional access, we can block the access to the corporate data if the device is not compliant or it is a non-compliant device. So, we can integrate conditional access and we can use the result of compliance status of the device and block the access to the corporate device. Now, the compliance policies are tailored for each and every OS. So we can create compliance policies for Android, iOS, Windows, and Mac OS as well. So it is tailored for each and every OS platform. So these policies can be used to protect the sensitive data and improve the overall security posture of your organization. So because the device is non-compliant and we have a conditional access, with that we will be able to block the devices. So block the devices or to the access to corporate. In that way, we will be able to protect the corporate data and the data leakage on non-compliant devices. Coming to the key features. So compliance policy will validate the many settings on user devices. So out of them, a few of them are password, whether the device is falling under the required password length or required complexity of the password, and also it will validate whether the device is encrypted or not. Intune has a capability to detect whether the device is jailbroken or rooted. So we can make the device as non-compliant if it is a jailbroken or a rooted device. So we can set the minimum OS and maximum OS required, and also we can make sure the device is under the threat under any mobile threat defense level. So let's say you can set a threat level as a low or high so that the device become compliant or non-compliant. So compliance policies also allows an Intune admin to create few actions based on the compliance, non-compliant. If the device is non-compliant, we can trigger few actions. We will discuss more about in the action section. It also these policies will be assigned to the users and verifies the device security, like security features as well, like a secure view, TPM or enabled or not. So coming to the types of compliance policies, we can broadly divide as compliance policy settings and the device compliance policy. Uh, Compliance policy settings are the default compliance policy, which is available in every tenant. These are the settings where we will treat whether a device is a compliant or not, if any new compliance policies assigned or not. Those settings will be I'll discuss more about in the when we talk about a demo. And the other one is a compliance policy. This is the one which we create for each OS version. And then we will define the configurations as per our requirement. So under, as I mentioned, we can, our Intune admin can trigger a few actions for the non-compliant device. Out of them, these are the five actions which we can trigger. So one is the notify the users via email about whether your device is this device is non-compliant, and we can mark the device as a non-compliant immediately, or we can specify after how many days a device should be marked as a non-compliant. We can remotely lock the non-compliant device, and we can add this device to the retire list. And we can also send push notifications to the end user, say stating that your device is non-compliant and you need to make it as a compliant. And we can also provide a grace period so that the user can make the device as a compliant whenever they are free to accept or free to make the device as compliant. So Intune also provides you the steps to make your device as a compliant in the company portal. When you enroll a device in the company portal, if the device is non-compliant, it will give you certain steps to make your device as a compliant as well. Now let's see about, let's create an compliance policy and see how it looks like. So let me share my screen just a minute. So this is my Intune tenant. Let me know. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, Naren.
Yeah, thank you. So we can create compliance policies under manage device section.
I cannot see.
Dilip, can you reconnect? We can see Naren's screen.
Okay.
Okay. So under compliance policies can be created under available under device section, and under devices we can see manage devices where we have the compliance. So let's see what is the compliance settings available for us. So this is the compliance settings section where we will define whether the device has to be compliant if any policies assigned or not. Or let's say I have created one policy. So if my device, I don't have any compliance policy created manually. So now, if you want to treat such kind of devices as a compliant, you can treat them as a compliant. Else, you can treat them as a non-compliant. Let's say your device doesn't have any compliance policy, and you feel that kind of devices are a threat to your organization data. So then you can treat those kind of devices as a non-compliant here. When we turn off this feature, it will treat the devices which are not having any compliance policies assigned to them are as a non-compliant. Now, the second setting which we have is compliance status validity period. So let's say your device is offline and it is not connecting to internet for some reason. We can, let's take example of Windows devices. Whenever people go on long leaves, they do not connect their devices to Intune, right? So in that case, till how many days I should keep? I mean, Intune should keep the status of the compliance as a valid. So let's say my device was compliant when I last connected. and I didn't connect for next 15 days. So after, if I set this one as a 15, after 15 days, if my device is not connecting to Intune, the compliance status will be treated as a non-compliant. The compliance status will become as a non-compliant because the validity of the compliance status is 15 days. On the 16th day, my device will be treated as a non-compliant if it is not connecting to Intune. If it is connecting to Intune, based on the status or the compliance policy, the compliance policy will be evaluated. But the compliance status will be validity will be till 15 days only. If you are continuously connecting and you are doing some changes and everything, the compliance policy will validate on every sync cycle, and it will define whether the device is compliant or not. In case your device is not available or connecting to internet and it is missing the sync cycles, then the status here, this will help us to uh, keep the status till certain days. So I'll keep this as a 15, or we can set as a 120 days as. So the maximum you can have a 120 days, which is like 4 months. So in most of the companies, they treat this as a 15 to 30 days. So it won't have much impact. So I'll save it. So now whenever a device is enrolled and it doesn't have any compliance policy, automatically my device will be treated as a non-compliant. Now coming to the compliance policies, we can create, as I mentioned, we can create a compliance policies for Android, iOS, Mac, and Windows devices. Let's create a one compliance policy for Android devices. I'll select Android Enterprise, and I'll select as a personally owned profile. So we can create, when you select Android Enterprise, we can create a compliance policy for fully managed devices or personally owned work profile as well. So there will be some feature changes. Else, most of the cases, the settings or the compliance settings available for both the devices will be the same. So I'm selecting as a personally owned work profile. I'll give a name. And it is always better to provide us a description for the config compliance policy, so that you will identify when it was created, why it is created, and you can mention the incident number or change request number, so that it will be whenever you leave, the other guys can relate this particular compliance policy. So as of now, it is not mandatory, but it is always one of the best practice to provide this for any policy we created. Now, as I mentioned, the entire device compliance settings can be divided into four parts. One is when I mentioned about the security level on the device, threat level on the device, that can be done under Microsoft Defender. So if the device is not under any, let's say you to be under any machine risk score. So whenever your device is having a Microsoft Defender, your Defender will give a risk score for your device. High means it is highly vulnerable for threats. Low means it is a very least, there are least chances to threats. Clear means it is a totally threat free. So high, it works like a opposite way. So high in the sense, whenever your risk score is high, your device is getting higher chances to attack any threats from the internet. When it is clear, there are zero chances to uh, make attack your devices, threat attacks to your devices. So most of the cases mentioned based on your requirement, you can mention clear or low. So I will select a clear for that. Under device health, this is the place where we will define the jailbroken or a few other health related, especially for Google Play Store health related settings are here. So when we block rooted devices, so whenever your device is detected as a rooted or jailbroken, it will treat the device as a non-compliant. If you keep it as a not configured, it will treat even if it is your device is a rooted or jailbroken, it will treat it as a compliant. So I'll select as a block. Similarly, we need to mention what is the threat level here. So it is also works similar to the risk score. Security means least vulnerable to your threats. High means highly vulnerable for your threat levels. So I'll select a secure. Now this is the place where you will configure the Google Protect settings as well. So if you really require a Google Play services to be configured, mention as a required. These up to date has to be your date. I mean, your security provider should be up to date. You can mention it as up to date, and you can also uh, define the play integrity. You can also not configure or click on a basic integrity or a basic integrity and device integrity. So this will give you more security and integrity of the applications, whether the devices are following the Google norms and there are no any data leakage from your applications, all those stuff. Now coming to the device properties, here we will define the minimum OS and maximum OS. So let's say now most of the companies, because of our AI related issues, they want to block the iOS 18 or iOS 18 or iPad OS 18, right? So we devices which are not enrolling new, we can do that using a no, enrollment restrictions. We can block the devices. We can define a maximum OS required for enrolling device in the enrollment restriction and block the enrollment. But what happens to the devices which are already enrolled? So we cannot block them, right? So we can make them as a non-compliant by defining maximum OS load. So here I can define as it is an Android, I can define it as a 14, and if I minimum OS as required is I can mention 12. So devices which are following within these two OS 12 and 14, those devices will be treated as a compliant. Else, if the devices are 11 running on 11, it will be non-compliant. If devices are running on 15, that will be non-compliant. So that's how we can block the new versions. When we create a compliance policy, it is always better to have a conditional access policy so that it will block the corporate data, access to the corporate data when the device become non-compliant. Now, this is the system security. This is the place where we will define the password complexity as well as what kind of password should be defined for the devices. So the entire system security and this was divided. Password security is divided into two categories for Android 11 and below and Android 12 and above. So we'll discuss one by one. So this is the place where we define. Just give me a moment. So this is where we define whether the device should be encrypted or not. When we select encryption as required, if the device is not encrypted, it will treat as a not compliant. Okay. Here also, so in as we are using Android, we can enable the especially for Android for work devices, we can users can enable developer options and they can install the application from unknown sources, right? By enabling the developer options. So we will block that so that whenever you user enable the developer option to install a block unknown resources, it will make the device as a non-compliant. We can also validate a runtime integrity, company portal runtime integrity, which will check whether the device is coming from the right source or is the if the application is tampered after installation. So we can also, if the device your debugging option is enabled under device developer options, if you want to make that device as a non-compliant, when if the user is enabling the USB debugging, you can use this option to block. And if you really want any minimum security patch level, we can mention that in here. So if the device is not having that below that minimum security patch level, it will treat as a non-compliant devices. So now here, this is the place where, as I was mentioning about the password as well, right? So this is the place where you define the password complexity and password requirements for the Android devices. So when I click on require, the entire thing is divided into two parts. One is Android 12 and later, Android 11 and earlier. There are few common settings available for all the Android devices. That is a number of days. So let's say I set 90 days. After 90 days, I will be prompted to reset the password of the device. And if I define a number of previous password reuse to 5, so till I cannot, after till 5 times, I cannot use the same password, which means let's say, and I set a password 1234 my device, and I change the password for 3 times. If I use the same password 1234 on the fourth time, I'll not be able to set the same password, which means I've already used that password and I cannot use the same password till 5 changes. After sixth change, in the sixth change, I can use the first password. And what is the minimum activity before the password is required? So let's say you left your device idle. After how many minutes the device requires password to unlock your device? We can define 1 minute to 8 hours. So idle case is 5 minutes. Now coming to the password complexity, it is a major difference for Android 11 and Android 11 and below, and Android 12 and above. So in Android 12 and above devices, the complexity is set as a three types. One is a high, which requires you have a alphanumeric or 8-digit password. In low, you can use a simple password. You can repeat the same digits like 1234 or 000. In medium, it will be become a bit complex. You can use a simple password, but not continuous numbers. In high, when you select the high, you should have a unique password of 8 digits. Previously, it used to be 6 digits, but now it is changed to 8 digits. If you enroll any Android 12 and later devices to Android 4, you will be forced to have a device passcode as an 8-digit passcode. So we'll select as a high. Now coming to the Android 11 and the earlier devices, the password requirement is we have n number of options, out of which low security biometrics, you can have only biometrics. At least one numeric, only one number should be there in the password. Numeric complex. Numeric complex is nothing but you will have a numeric password for your device, and it should be 6 digits or more. At least one alphabetic, which requires one of the letter in the password should be alphabet. Alphanumeric is it is combination of alphabets and numeric. At least one alphanumeric with symbol. Here in this type of password requirement, we should have a alphabets, numeric, as well as the special character. So I'll select any numeric complex. So what is a len? So here we do for Android 12 and 12 and above devices, we don't have an option to select the password len. It only depends on the complexity. Now here in Android 11 and earlier devices, we can set the number of 6 or 7-digit password as per our requirement. So we can define the password length. So I'm selecting the most common used is 6. Similarly, for if you want to have the passcode for your work profile, let's say if I click on require, if I'm not having the password for my work profile, then the device will be treated as a not compliant. So I'm not selecting this. If you select this one, the password complexity will be the same. Number of password users can configure, how many activity, and everything similar to the this one. Device level password for Android 12 and above, and Android 11 and so I'm not selecting the configuration. Click on next. This is the place where we action for compliance. So this is the place where we can configure actions for compliance policy if the device become non-compliant. So let's say if you want to device become non-compliant, and if you want to define the device as a not compliant immediately, you can do it as a 0. When you keep the device as a 0, it will treat the device as a not compliant immediately. But if you want to give some grace period, let's say after 4 days, So if I select the 4 days, even though my device is not compliant today, but my device will not treated as a non-compliant device. It will treat the device as non-compliant after 4 days. So this is the grace period. I was mentioning about grace period, right? We can provide a grace period for the device become non-compliant. So this is the grace period, marking the device as non-compliant after 4 days. So meanwhile, within 4 days, what we can do? We can do multiple remote actions. Like you can send an email to the user. We need to select the template. I guess we don't have any template. Let's see if I have any template or not. Yeah, okay. I have a template. So the template is, I'm just created a template. I will show you how to create a notification template for the non-compliance. Okay, I'm selecting this template. So I can also send how many days after how many days the email should be sent. So if device is treated as non-compliant, if I want to send the complaints email immediately, I can set as a 0. So let's say this is the first message. Second, I can send an email after 1 day. This is the second notification to the user. If you have multiple notification templates for first day, second day, third day, you can have select that particular notification and then send it to the user. So whenever as soon as I enroll device or as soon as my device become non-compliant, it will send a device immediately. After 1 day, this particular template will be sent. Similarly, you can have a push notification to send to the end user. We can remotely lock the non-compliant devices, and we can add the device to the retire list. When you select this option, as soon as the device become non-compliant, the device will be added to the retire device list, but it will not retire the device. Make sure, remember this. So most of the people think if you create this action, it will retire the device. No, it will not retire the device. It will add your device to the retire list. A retire list, I'll show you where you can find the device retire list. So here we can have same action in number of times. I can have a return list after 1 day, after 5 days, or after 15 days, and I can define whatever action multiple times. I can define the action for multiple times. So there is no limitation that I have to use this action for only one time. Okay. After defining all the policies, we'll click it, assign to all the users or devices, or you can select a few groups. I'll select now this just for understanding purpose and click create. So you can review all these things. If you are okay with the as per your requirements, the complexity is okay, you can create and you can assign it to the users. It will create to the users. My profile has been created, and you can monitor the compliance policy or the device status here. So whenever I don't have any device as of now, and we are also running short of time. So we don't have a, so whenever a device compliance is done, it will show the how many devices are compliant, non-compliant, and we can view the reports. And if you want any changes to the compliance policy, you can go to the properties and then edit the compliance policies. Now, coming to here, you can also view per settings status. Let's say how many devices are having USB debugging enabled. Because of that, the device become non-compliant. So we can view using per setting status. So let's say if you are having couple of users are enabled USB debugging. Because of that reason, the device became non-compliant. So that particular show will be shown here in the list. So that's how you monitor that. And coming to the notification, I was talking about notification, right, for email template. So this is the place where we can create a notification. So I can provide a non-compliant. for day one. So here we will be able to define our company logo. We can enable the company logo or disable it. This customization will be fetched from the branding section, which we configured in Intune or Azure ID. We can show the company logo at the footer or doesn't want. So the contact information, if you want to show the contact information of your organization or support, you can do that. As I don't have anything, I'm not showing here. You can also enable company portal option. So when you enable it, user will be shown with the uh, option to their self-service along with the device ID. So whenever they click on the email, it will take the user to that particular device details. So now we need to define the template message. So what language you want? We Intune supports multiple languages. So I'll choose English. I'll select the subject as viewer device is non-compliant page. Now the message can be defined into two ways. One is with a raw HTML or a regular simple text. So raw HTML will give you option to define header, footer, paras, and everything. So when I click on, it will be treated as a not. I can have a HTML header and everything, but I'll keep it as a off and I will set as a viewer implement type open company portal. So there is a character limit for this. It is a 20,000 characters. If your device, your template exceeds 20 more than 20,000 characters, you will not get the compliance policy trigger. This template will not be triggered to the non-compliant users. Okay, we can set this as a low default locally or no. You can do that. I'll select this as a save. Okay, I need to select the. You can edit always. Now click on next, and I create this one. I'll create this one. So when I go to the compliance policies, this is the policy which we created, right? So I'll take this properties. I'll edit the actions. I can select the message notification. So you can see the non-compliant notification for day one. You can see that one, right? This is the name which we give, and this is our subject, and this is the template which we have given. So I'll select it, review and see. Now I missed one more topic, that is retire non-compliant device. So whenever we define the action, add your device to non-compliant devices, this is the place where you will get the device listed here. So you can select the device and then you can retire the device. But automatic retire is not supported as of now if the device is non-compliant. So this is about compliance policy creation and notification actions. Let's see what are the best practices. So this is the best practices. Basically, are you able to see my screen, guys?
Yeah,
Yes.
Naren.
Yeah, perfect. So always ensure you update the password compliance policies on regular basis. Mostly twice in a year. That would be great because the OS versions will be releasing. So you need to plan accordingly whether what is the maximum or a minimum voice requirements and everything. So always it is better always better to update the keep on monitoring the compliance policies whether they are meeting with your company standards or not. And then we also should provide user education about making them their devices as a compliant. And it is always better to have a workshops with a L1 or a few users so that they how to make the device as a compliant devices when it become non-compliant. Before deploying the compliance policy, make sure you test it with the test users. Okay, so once everything you feel everything is working as per expected, then move it to the production in phase by phase manner. So you can always add the user groups there. So the adding users in phases will help you to reduce the number of tickets which you are getting because of non-compliance, and that will help you to keep your environment clean and reduce your work on daily basis, which you get through tickets. Now, always use a conditional access to get the full pledged feature of compliance policies. So having a single compliance policy will not help you to block the access to your organization data. So we should have a conditional access policy where we will define required device to be compliant settings under grant access control. That will make sure your device is enrolled to device and compliant to the Intune as per the compliance policies. So I'll take that one into in another section, another topic as in next time. And always view the compliance reports weekly so that you will keep on understanding the compliance trends of the devices, and you can always have a conversation with your L1 or L2 teams or L3 teams to make your environment compliant as per your requirement. I I love to take iOS compliance policies, but because of the time constraint, we will stop here. Any query, guys?